nature's fertilizer.
What was this exact? Got a nice shot of these bison. Goosed them a little bit.
A magnificent, we love high quality grass-fed meat.
How old do you think this apple orchard is? The smell of this Austrian hare. We went way up there. You can see a large herd.
Alrighty, we are here in Lander. We are at Falls Family Ranches up in Sinks Canyon, and this is a magnificent, And this is a magnificent piece of land here. We got around 500 to 600 bison roaming that we're gonna show you. We got historic structures such as this one on the property, a nice apple orchard in the back. It's exciting to be partnered and affiliated with this ranch because we love bison, we love high quality grass-fed meat, and we love to support local ranches. So we're gonna give you a little ranch tour and show you the beauty of this place as well as the beauty of the bison.
These farm tour videos are what I really want the channel to concentrate on, something I've been really looking forward to. What was this exactly? Just a cabin?
Yeah.
We're gonna go bald and bankrupt right now. You can see how old this cabin is, how they did the jointing, probably the original fireplace. Some old machinery. And look at this apple orchard. How old do you think this apple orchard is, roughly?
I think from my knowledge, it's one of the first apple orchards in the area. So we're talking, 150 years, probably 100 years, 120 years. And yeah, it's quite a historic little area, and it's cool that this has kind of made it through.
You can see the mountains in the distance here. This ranch goes, I believe, all the way up and over these hills over here, or the beginning of these mountains in the Wind River Range. You can also see that it's fall time and we have some snow.
So the reason we love getting connected with local ranchers and farmers is that you can get in tune with what they're doing and how they're raising animals. And this is not indicative at all of the industrial livestock farming system, which uses centralized animal feeding operations, or CAFOs. So you have super high concentration of animals, a very small amount of land, and no thought of rotational grazing practices. But at a place here, there's raising bison, you need even more land per head of animal. And this ranch has invested a lot into infrastructure to be able to rotationally graze the bison herd and regenerate the soil health in the process. That really is the key to regenerative agriculture, folks. It's mimicking nature, mimicking rotational grazing. The bison would have in the past just roam through here, hundreds of thousands in a herd, not leave a single blade of grass untouched. And then there'd be a super long rest period to allow that soil to regenerate and become even more fertile. So that's why we had such fertile land here in the Great Plains, the Mountain West, and we're trying to bring that back. It's been destroyed through monocrop agriculture and high input, high output farming practices, pesticides, herbicides, killing everything in sight. And how do we get back to that? We educate and we get more connected to our local food system. Hopefully we can teach you a thing or two, showing you guys what it's like to go on a ranch tour, and then you can go to your local farmer or rancher and do the same.
No apples to be found, but there's these old cottonwoods. Made it up to the old apple orchard here. Tristan, for the audience, what is regenerative agriculture?
Yeah, regenerative agriculture, in a simple answer, is just regenerating the soil quality on a piece of land. So how you do that is by emulating nature.
Essentially, modern farming, a lot of modern agriculture strips the land and soil of any nutrients, and it ends up making it barren and not really fertile anymore. So I think this is to break horses. run them in a circle around here. Somebody comment below exactly what this is used for. And this is how you regenerate the soil. Nitrogen, fertilizer.
All right, here we got a bison mud pie, nature's fertilizer. This is what's putting the nutrients back into the soil. Now it's time to go find some bison.
Found a group of bison up here on the right, and behind them, some antelope. You can see the big white butts of the antelope running across the field. We have a sizable male here.
We have a few bison behind us, one large male, and don't forget that bison, they are wild animals. Even though they're on a ranch, they haven't really been fully domesticated, so their genetics are still very wild. And for that reason, you need to treat them as such. So you've seen all the Yellowstone folks get gored. You can get gored by a bison on this ranch if you're not careful. But that's what makes them special. That's what makes the meat cool, because they taste, to me, more similar to an elk or venison, because they have that wild flavor and they're not super fat. You're getting that really high nutrient density. It's only been the last about 100 years that we've been ranching bison, basically saved the population, which was down to just a few hundred animals at the turn of the 20th century. So if it wasn't for bison ranching, there's a strong possibility that the American buffalo could have been extinct.
We're always keeping our distance, and we are always next to the ATV. They are extremely dangerous. They do toss people and they can kill you. So please stop approaching them just to get a photo. And you guys can see the pronghorn running. These are not ranch animals. These are wild. They're a natural species to the American plains. I believe there are another 2 or 3 species of pronghorn, but they have since gone extinct. I think Tristan's gonna plan to hunt one this year. You'll find the meat is very divisive. Some people love it, and then some people just don't hunt it. They do not care for it. But they're a gorgeous, beautiful animal.
So we chased the antelope past the fencing here, and yes, I did harvest an antelope last year, but the winter die-off in Wyoming this past year was so brutal that pretty much no one's hunting antelope this year. But here we have an example. We can see the fencing infrastructure on this bison ranch is intense. So we got steel pipe fencing and these thick cables, because bison are notorious for getting out of pasture. So you kind of need to invest more into fencing. And then the key with regenerative agriculture is rotational grazing. So you need to be able to have the infrastructure to rotate the herd and give pastures long rest periods. And that's a tricky thing to do with bison when they can easily get out, but it's something that, you know, Falls Family Ranches here is just clearly investing a lot of money into. But it can also be a reason why bison meat is a bit more expensive, because you have to raise them to longer ages and you have to invest more into fencing.
So in Wyoming, we've talked considerably about how there is a lack of water, Mountain West in general. You can see right here is a drainage that goes down to a large pond for the bison. Up to the right is the mountains, where all of the snow and rain will melt and come down and feed into that pond. Tristan was telling me they're investing very heavily in the fencing at this ranch. The fencing is what separates all of these different paddocks so that the bison don't just stay on one. They can rotate them so the soil does not get stripped down. It gives the grass and plants a chance to recover and regrow. We are ripping the four-wheeler up this trail, gonna try to make it to the top of this hill. A little bit of a bumpy ride, but you can see how gorgeous this land is. You can see all the grass, you can see the red rock behind us. This is a gorgeous ranch. As we try to get to this little forest up here, you can see running across are some elk. This is particularly sensitive to Tristan, since he just spent a number of days in the Rockies hunting for them. You can see they're running into these pine trees up here. If we're lucky, these bull elk will across this hill and we'll get a good shot of them. And stop. You can see a
young one.
You can see a beautiful elk.
There's the bull coming from the back.
And in case you guys couldn't hear that audio, we made it up to this forest and we see these absolutely gorgeous elk. We kind of spooked them out of it. If you guys look up to the left, you can see a large herd.
We found the elk, so that's really cool. And again, this is still part of the ranch here. They don't graze the bison on these upper areas because of the native wildlife here, and it's just incredible to provide for the ecosystem and see these beautiful ruminants doing what they do.
We might get lucky and catch a bugle. One of the best noises you'll ever hear. Shocking, always surprising. We got another herd coming right here. And we're off. Ready? You guys know Tristan doesn't shower and I'm stuck riding behind him. It's been a smelly venture so far. We're headed back down from this hill. You can see the scope of almost the entire ranch. The smell of this Austrian hare. Struggling with the fencing. You guys can imagine how hard it is to be a ranch hand and have to place all of this fencing. Still struggling over here. We went way up there onto those hills. My butt has gotten completely wet. I had to sit in the back. Of course, it's ripped. All the water just gets absorbed into that, and then I sit on it for an hour. So I get to walk around with wet boxers.
This ranch is also pretty amazing because it has a ton of great quality water, which is rare in Wyoming. He's got some springs on the ranch as well as some artesian wells. So this is artesian well water. So whenever I come, I bring my jug and fill up. That's not on, so.
Got a nice shot of these bison. Goosed them a little bit. You can see how aesthetic and beautiful these animals are. So we're gonna interview the ranch manager. His name is Josh. He has a lot of great experience. We're gonna learn a little bit of how this ranch functions.